Should you borrow from your 401k or take the dealer's finance at 1.9% interest rate? Let's talk about that now. Welcome again to the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, my friends. Got an interesting topic because someone named Chris had commented on the video I did on whether or not I'm borrowing from your 401k to pay credit card debt. And Chris, either he or she, asked, hey, is it worth it to borrow if I'm getting 1.9% dealer financing? So let's find out. It'll be interesting to crunch these numbers and see. So what we're going to come up with here is I have my little trusty spreadsheet, very high speed there. And first and foremost, we got to determine how a 401k loan works again. And we're going to say, remember, the 401k, you can borrow either the lesser of a half of your portfolio balance or $50,000, whichever is less. So if you have $50,000 in your 401k, the max you could borrow is $25,000. If you have $10,000 in your 401k, the max you could borrow is $5,000. If you have $150,000 in your 401k, the max you could borrow is $50,000. I hear you out there in YouTube land. So that's exactly right. So that's how it works first and foremost. Second of all, you just take your trusty calculator and you calculate an amortization schedule over 60 payments. All right. So that's 5 years, 60 months. And basically what we're going to find is if we're borrowing X amount of dollars at a certain interest rate, we're going to pay it back over 60 months. That'll give us a payment that we have to pay. All right. Now, again, there's always a couple things when it comes to 401k loans. A 401k loan that's not fully paid back, if you leave that employer they fire you or you quit, you're going to have to pay it back within real quick after leaving, or else you're going to get hit with income taxes. And if you're under the age of 59 and a half, a premature distribution on the amount that's still outstanding on the loan. So there is some risk inherent in taking a loan from your 401k. Cannot let that be overlooked at all. All right, so our scenario is here. We're going to assume that you have $50,000 in your 401k. Your vehicle is going to cost you $25,000. The question is, should we borrow the $25,000 from our 401k? Because remember, we can take half of that $50,000 out, or should we finance the vehicle? We're going to say the finance rate is 1.9%. That's what the dealer is offering us. And the $25K borrowed from our 401K is a 5% interest right now. Whatever your situation, I don't know, but 5% sounds about right. And again, that will be amortized over 60 payments, 5 years. And we know just running the trusty calculator, that's going to cost $470 a month. Now, again, where does that $470 a month go? It goes back into your account. All right. That's where it goes. It does not go to the bank. It goes back to you. So the question is, will that $470 a month be worth it compared to the cheap money we're getting from the dealership? And the answer is a pretty resounding no in this case. And how do we know? Well, we're saying we leave our $50,000 in our 401k. We're not touching it. And we're going to take $25,000 from the bank. All right. So essentially in this case, we have a net worth of $25,000. All right, because we're taking $50,000 as our asset, $25,000 as our liability, our net worth is $25,000. We don't have any payments. Because we're allowing our 401k to sit there and our expected rate of return is 6%, we are thinking that we're going to have $69,826 back. Now, where am I getting this 34? Well, we know for a fact that to borrow against my 401k over 5 years at 5% is going to cost me $470 a month. So if we're doing even Steven here, we want to compare $470 a month to not only the amount I got to pay back to the dealership, in this case is $436, $25,000 financed over 1.9% for 5 years. Our monthly payment is $436. So to make it $436, which is $470, what I got to pay back on my 401k loan, I'm going to add an extra $34 a month into my 401k. So these things equal $470 a month right there. So we're going to take this plus that equals $470 a month, which is the amount that we're going to pay back on my $25,000 amount that I'm borrowing from my 401k. So far, so good. So again, because we want to have an even Steven, after 5 years, I have no loan balance and I have a 401k balance of $69,826, $69,826. All right. So that's not simple. I don't want to give you to assume that's simple, but that's how it works. $50,000 of leaving my 401k is drawing 6% as my expected rate of return. I'm adding an extra $34 to make it equal to what I would have paid back on my loan if I had borrowed. And at the end of 5 years, I got $69,826 in there, and I have no loan whatsoever. I was paying 60 months to the bank at 1.9%, and it cost me $436 a month. Instead, if I just borrowed from my 401k, I had $25,000 in the loans. That meant I only left $25,000 in there. This is $25,000. This is 401k. $25,000 in there. I had 60 months in which to pay that loan back. I'm still expecting a 6% rate of return on my monthly payments to this and my $25,000 that was left. But after the course of 5 years, I am behind $3,000. So that's my net worth after 5 years, $66,000. And we take this and we take that minus that, we will get a value of $3,149. So at 1.9%, without any risk to leaving my job early, it's without question worth basically $3,100 to borrow from the bank or the dealership as opposed to borrowing from my 401k. Now, what if I get higher rates of return? Then this rate with borrowing would look even from the bank now would look even more better or better. If I get a lower rate of return, the market crashes, then borrowing from my 401k looks better simply because I'm out of the market. At the end of the day, though, I think it's a pretty safe assumption. If you're getting that kind of cheap money, it would make sense to borrow from the bank or the dealer as opposed to your 401k. End of story. No. Let's say instead of the 1.9, where maybe the interest rate's going up, whatever. So now we're getting a loan of 5% from the dealer. All right, so now we got $50,000 to leave it in our 401k. Because we're getting a 5% loan from the dealer on $25,000, we're paying it back at 5% over 60 months. Our monthly payment is $470, which doesn't give us any extra to put into our 401k, which means the future value, our $50,000 that we're leaving in the 401k, without that extra $34 a month going in, is $67,442. So after 5 years, that's what I have in the account, which is still better than borrowing from my 401k, because here again, we're taking $25,000 out of the 401k. We're paying it back over 60 months, which is at an interest rate of 5%, and we're paying $470 a month back, which means after 5 years, there's nothing left in the loan. So we're adding $470 a month to this $25,000. Our expected rate of return is 6%. Which in this case means we're only having $66,677. Less than $1,000 difference, but still, even though the dealer interest rate is 5% and the interest rate I'm paying myself is 5%, the facts are I have $25,000 less in my 401k in the first couple of years, getting that 6%. And because of that, is definitely more favorable in which to borrow from my 401k as opposed to borrowing from, as much more favorable to borrow from the bank as opposed to 401k if I get a 5% interest rate loan from the dealer. All right. So what if I have a loan from the dealer of 7%? Well, let's take a look at this now. This is where it gets interesting. So I'm leaving $50,000 in my 401k. Same thing, it's growing at 6% a year. And in this case, it's going to be worth $67,442. But because my interest rate from my dealer is 7%, the payment is now $492. 60 payments, $492 a month at 7% interest. It means I have nothing left over in that loan. But here I only have $67,442 after 5 years of my 401k. On the other hand, at my 401k loan, I'm paying $492 back. Remember, it was $470 before. But because I want to make it even, Steven, I'm going to pay $492, which is the exact same amount I was paying to the bank for my car loan. So $25,000 over 60 months at 6% is my rate of return. I'm putting that money back into my 401k at $492 a month. I now have $68,219. So it really comes down to the interest rate you're getting from the dealership versus what you're getting on your 401k and your expected rate of return. Now, there's a caveat in all these things. If you're going to pay cash money to the dealer, hey, Mr. Dealer, I'm going to give you $23,000 of cash, or I'll finance the vehicle for $25,000. I'm agnostic. What's your preference? Now, a lot of times you can just say, as a buyer, I'm not going to finance $25,000. If you want to make the sale, you're going to accept this $23,000. The dealer's going to say, oh, where are you going to get that $23,000 of money, kid? And you say, right here, check, cash order, money order, whatever it is. Money, I got a fat stack of cash. I'm willing, ready, and able to give that to you. So knock a couple thousand off the purchase price, and we're in business. If not, I'm going right down the street. The nice thing about having the borrowing from your 401k loan ability is that it does give you that leverage to pay cash money as opposed to financing it. Because when they start financing it, you got the dealer fee, you got all the different things that go in there on top of the 2 or 3 hours of time it takes to borrow the stupid money to begin with. So I'm not using that as a scenario. Say I got 5% at the dealership and I can get 5% of my 401k loan. Well, in this case, I'd say I'm not going to borrow $25,000 from you. I'm just going to pay you cash at $23,000, and then you'd borrow it from your 401k. However you want to do that. But when you have cash money as the ability to borrow from your 401k, it does give you that leverage that you don't have otherwise as another source to make the deal for the dealer. And so that would kind of offset some of the risk of borrowing from your 401k if you leave early. You got to pay early penalties on taxes and then income taxes as well. But just remember, what it ultimately comes down to, if I'm getting 7% from the dealer and I'm paying myself back at 5%, it doesn't make any sense to borrow from the dealer. It just does not. If I'm getting 5% from the dealer and I'm paying myself back 5%, it probably makes sense to borrow from the dealer. It's just right there, that cusp. The loan interest rate from the dealer versus the loan interest rate that I'm paying myself. And I got to look at expected rate of return. Now, I caution with expected rate of return. A lot of people, especially listen to Dave Ramsey, which actually bothers me, they're going to have these high expected rates of return of 10 to 12%. And I don't think you should do that. I think a 6% expected rate of return is adequate. If you want to have an 8% rate of return on the money that you have in your 401k, it will make borrowing from the dealer look that much more favorable because you're leaving more money in the account to get the 8%. I think a 6% rate of return is the way you should go, though, frankly. And because of that, you got to remember, too, just because you're expecting a 6% rate of return, it's not guaranteed, my friends, where the loan is guaranteed. And if the market falls 25%, you're going to wish you borrowed against your 401k as opposed to taking it from the dealer and leaving all the money in your 401k because your net worth will be hammered. You'll lose a quarter of your net worth. So I hope this helps. Again, just look at the rate the dealer is giving you. Look at the rate you can get on your 401k. I would probably, as a side note, look at the rate of return you're going to get on the rate of return on the 401k. But if the dealer rate is significantly below the rate that you're going to get on borrowing from your 401k, I'd probably go the route of the dealer for sure. Unless you really believe that the market is doomed, and then in that case, you probably want to borrow from your 401k just to get out of the market, to take a defensive action right there. So I hope this helps. Thumbs up, always helpful for sure. I am going to follow up with a video here. I'm working on now like a slideshow about borrowing from your 401k, not to pay off debt, but to try to get some tax mitigation in there. And I think a lot of people overlook the benefit there as well when it comes to tax man. I'll do that, work on that over the weekend. But don't forget, thumbs up, comments below for sure. Any thoughts, questions, concerns you have, put them in the comments. That's where I got this idea to do this video. And don't forget to subscribe right there. And then, of course, hit the notification bell to be notified of future content. Thanks, guys. See you next time on the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. See you now.